My name is Autumn Hayes. I was 28 when I returned to my hometown of Willow Creek, Massachusetts, a place I swore I'd never set foot in again. 10 years. That's how long I'd been running from the ghost of November past. From him, from Elijah Carter, the boy who broke my heart into 1,000 pieces on a cold November night, the boy who was now a man, a successful architect, and my new boss. Life has a cruel sense of humor sometimes. When my design firm in Boston collapsed after my business partner embezzled our funds, I never imagined I'd end up working for the one person I'd spent a decade trying to forget. But here I was standing in front of the imposing glass building with Carter designs emblazoned across the front, my hands trembling as I clutched my portfolio to my chest. November in New England is ruthless. The biting wind carried memories I'd buried deep within me, memories of warm hands intertwined with mine, of promises whispered under starlit skies, of dreams that died on that fateful Thanksgiving night. I took a deep breath and pushed through the revolving door. The receptionist smiled warmly as I approached. I'm Autumn Hayes. I have an appointment with Mr. Carter? She nodded. Of course, Miss Hayes. Mr. Carter is expecting you. 18th floor. The elevator ride felt eternal. Each floor that passed brought me closer to confronting the past I'd run from. The doors opened to reveal a sleek, minimalist office space, monochrome with splashes of deep blue. Just like his eyes. Autumn. His voice hadn't changed, deep, rich, with that slight rasp that used to send shivers down my spine. Still did, apparently. I turned slowly, and there he was. Elijah Carter stood before me, hands in the pockets of his tailored charcoal suit. He'd grown into his features, the boyish charm replaced by chiseled jawline and subtle crow's feet at the corners of his eyes. Eyes that still held the ocean in them. Elijah. His name felt foreign yet familiar on my tongue, like a language I'd once been fluent in but had forgotten over time. It's been a while. His expression was unreadable, professional, distant. 10 years, 3 months, and 17 days. But who's counting? Not me. Definitely not me. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. I managed to keep my voice steady, professional, as if he was just another potential employer, as if the sight of him didn't make my heart race with equal parts anger and something else I refused to name. He nodded toward his office. Shall we? His office was a corner unit with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the town square, the very square where we'd shared our first kiss under the twinkling Christmas lights. The irony wasn't lost on me. Have a seat. He gestured to the chair across from his desk. Coffee? Black. 2 sugars, I replied automatically. A flicker of something crossed his face. Surprise, maybe, that I still took my coffee the same way, or that he remembered. He pressed a button on his desk phone. Melissa, could you bring in 2 coffees? 1 black with 2 sugars. 1 black, no sugar. I finished for him. Some things never change. Our eyes met briefly before he looked away. So, your resume is impressive. He opened a folder on his desk. Senior designer at Lockhart and Hayes for 7 years. Multiple awards, published in Architectural Digest. Yes, I resisted the urge to fidget before everything fell apart. I heard about that. His voice softened slightly. Trevor Lockhart was always a snake. I hadn't expected sympathy. It threw me off balance. Why here, Autumn? He leaned forward, elbows on his desk. Of all the design firms in New England, why apply to mine? Because it was the only place that responded to my applications. Because my reputation was tarnished by association. Because I was desperate. Because you're the best, I answered instead. And I want to work with the best. He studied me for a long moment. I'd forgotten how intense his gaze could be, how it felt like he could see right through me. The position is for the Riverfront project. Senior designer with a team of 3 under you. He slid a folder across the desk. It's a 6-month contract to start. If all goes well, we can discuss something permanent. I blink. You're offering me the job. Just like that. Your portfolio speaks for itself. His tone was matter of fact, and contrary to what you might think, I don't mix personal and professional. As if what we had could be reduced to such a simple word. The door opened, and his assistant brought in our coffees. The smell of fresh coffee filled the room, momentarily breaking the tension. "When can you start?" he asked after taking a sip. "Monday." "Good." He stood, signaling the end of our meeting. "Melissa will email you the details." I rose from my chair, clutching the folder to my chest. "Thank you for the opportunity." He nodded. As I reached the door, his voice stopped me. "Autumn?" I turned. "Yes. Welcome back to Willow Creek." His voice held no emotion, no indication of whether my return meant anything to him at all. I managed a small smile and left. Only when I was safely inside my car did I allow myself to breathe, to feel, to remember. November was always our month. When we first met as teenagers, when we first fell in love, when he first told me he'd love me forever, and when he broke that promise, shattering my world into pieces too small to ever fully reassemble. Now here I was, breathing the same November air as Elijah Carter once again, working for him, seeing him every day. How was I supposed to survive this? The Riverfront project was ambitious, transforming the old abandoned mill district into a modern mixed-use development while preserving its historical integrity. It was exactly the kind of challenge I needed to rebuild my reputation. My team consisted of 3 junior designers: Maya, a recent graduate with bold ideas; Dominic, meticulous and thoughtful; and Riley, who had an eye for sustainable solutions. They were talented and eager to learn. I liked them immediately. What I didn't like was the way Elijah seemed to materialize whenever I least expected him. In the drive room as I was pouring coffee, in the elevator as I was leaving for the day, leaning over my shoulder to examine blueprints, his cologne bringing back memories I'd tried so hard to forget. "Your concept for the Central Plaza is interesting," he commented one evening as I worked late. Everyone else had gone home. The office was quiet except for the hum of my computer. I hadn't heard him approach, hadn't prepared myself for his proximity. But there was always a but with Elijah. "But I'm not sure the fountain works with the overall aesthetic." He pulled up a chair beside me. "Too close, not close enough." "The fountain ties the contemporary elements to the historical ones." I zoomed in on my design. "See how the stone base echoes the original mill foundation." He leaned closer, his shoulder brushing mine, an accidental touch that sent electricity through my veins. He studied the screen. "You might be right." I turned to face him, surprised. Did Elijah Carter just admit I might be right about something? "Alert the press." A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "Don't get used to it, Hayes." "Hayes." He used to call me Autumn Rose when we were together. Said my name was too beautiful not to say in full. We worked side by side for the next hour, debating design elements and finding compromises. It felt eerily familiar, like muscle memory, the way we used to collaborate on projects in college, bouncing ideas off each other until dawn. "Why did you really come back, Autumn?" His question came suddenly, catching me off guard. I kept my eyes on the screen. "I told you, I needed a job. You could have gone anywhere. Boston, New York, Chicago." He wasn't looking at me either. "Why here?" "Because my mother was sick. Because after my dad died last year, She was all alone, because despite everything, Willow Creek was still home. But I couldn't tell him that, couldn't show vulnerability. Not to him. The opportunity was right, I said instead. And my mother's here. How is Margaret? His voice softened at the mention of my mother. She had always adored Elijah, had been almost as heartbroken as I was when things fell well. She has good days and bad days. I swallowed hard. Early onset, Alzheimer's. His sharp intake of breath made me look up. The concern in his eyes seemed genuine. I'm sorry, Autumn. I didn't know. How could you? I shrugged, aiming for nonchalance but missing by a mile. It's not like we've kept in touch. An uncomfortable silence stretched between us. 10 years of unspoken words, accusations, and questions hung in the air. It's getting late, he finally said, standing. You should go home. Get some rest. I nodded, suddenly exhausted. Not just from the long day, but from the constant effort of pretending his presence didn't affect me. As I packed up my things, he lingered by the door. For what it's worth, I think your mother would be proud of the work you're doing here. The unexpected kindness threatened to crack my carefully constructed walls. I managed a tight smile and brushed past him, desperate for fresh air and distance. But as the elevator doors closed between us, I couldn't help but wonder if there was more to Elijah Carter than the man who broke my heart 10 years ago, and whether that made things better or infinitely worse. November in Willow Creek meant the annual Harvest Festival. Hay rides and apple cider, pumpkin carving contests, and local artisans selling their wares. As children, Elijah and I had loved it. As teenagers, we'd found it lame. As a couple in college, we'd rediscovered its charm. Now, as I wandered through the festival with my mother on my arm, I found myself searching the crowds. Not for him, definitely not for him, just taking in the familiar faces. Oh, look, there's Elijah. My mother's voice held all the subtlety of a freight train. She waved enthusiastically, and there he was, casual in dark jeans and a navy sweater that made his eyes seem impossibly blue even from a distance. He was with a little girl, maybe 7 or 8, with dark curls escaping from beneath a knitted hat. My heart stuttered. He had a daughter. Was he married? I hadn't thought to check, hadn't wanted to know. But now the possibility hit me like a physical blow. Too late to retreat. He'd seen us, was making his way over, the little girl's hand clasped in his. Margaret. His face lit up at the sight of my mother. It's so good to see you. Elijah, dear boy. My mother embraced him warmly. Sometimes her memory failed her. But today was a good day. She remembered him. Remembered everything, probably, including how much she'd once hoped he'd become her son-in-law. And who is this lovely young lady? My mother bent down to the girl's level. This is Lily, Elijah said, his voice filled with unmistakable pride. My niece, James and Kate's daughter. Relief flooded through me, followed immediately by shame. It shouldn't matter whether he was married or not. It didn't matter. Your brother's child. My mother clapped her hands delightedly. Oh, you look just like your daddy did at your age. Lily giggled shyly. Uncle Eli is teaching me to draw buildings. Is that so? I found my voice at last. And what kind of buildings do you like to draw? Castles. Her eyes lit up. With dragons. I laughed. The best kind. Lily, why don't you show Margaret the pumpkin you carved? Elijah suggested. It's right over there by the judging table. My mother was delighted by the suggestion. As they walked ahead, Elijah fell into step beside me. She has good days? He nodded toward my mother, who was now animatedly discussing pumpkin carving techniques with Lily. Today's one of the best in a while. I wrapped my cardigan tighter around myself. She remembers everything. Everyone, including me. His voice held a question. She always remembered you. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Even on her worst days. Something flickered across his face. Pain, regret, I couldn't tell anymore. Once I could read his every expression. Now he was a book written in a language I was only half fluent in. Autumn, there's something I need to. Autumn, Elijah, a familiar voice interrupted whatever he was about to say. We turned to see Sarah Miller, my best friend from high school, who now ran the local bookstore. I thought that was you two. Together again, huh? Work colleagues, I corrected quickly. Too quickly. Sarah's eyebrows rose. Right. Well, don't forget the bonfire tonight. 9 o'clock sharp. She squeezed my arm and disappeared back into the crowd. The bonfire. Elijah's voice was soft with remembrance. God, how long has it been since I went to one of those? 10 years. The last time had been with me, the night before everything fell apart. Are you going? He asked. I shook my head. I need to get Mom home before she gets too tired. I could help, he offered, with your mom, if you wanted to go. The offer surprised me. Why would you do that? His eyes met mine. Because you used to love the bonfire, and because Margaret was like a second mother to me once. He paused. And because I think we need to talk, Autumn. Really talk. My heart raced. Talk about what? The past? The pain? The way he'd walked away without a backward glance? There's nothing to talk about, I said firmly. It was a long time ago. 10 years, 3 months, and 21 days. He said it so quietly, I almost thought I'd imagined it, but I hadn't. He'd been counting too. Before I could respond, Lily came running back, my mother following at a more sedate pace. My pumpkin got second place, Lily announced proudly, holding up a blue ribbon. That's wonderful. I smiled at her enthusiasm. You must be a very talented artist, like Uncle Eli. She beamed up at him adoringly. He's teaching me everything he knows. Not everything, he corrected, with a wink. I have to keep some secrets. My mother reached us slightly out of breath. What a delightful child. Reminds me of you at that age, Autumn. She patted Lily's head affectionately. Always creating something. I noticed the slight furrow between my mother's brows, the way her eyes darted around, suddenly less certain. Her good days could shift without warning. Mom, I think it's time we headed home, I said gently. Remember, we promised to watch that movie tonight. She nodded, but I could see confusion settling in. Yes, of course. The movie. She looked at Elijah, then back at me. Are you coming with us, dear? The question wasn't directed at me. In her mind, she'd slipped back to a time when Elijah and I were inseparable, when he would spend evenings at our house, watching old movies with us. Not tonight, Margaret, Elijah said kindly, no hint of awkwardness in his tone. But I'll see you again soon, I promise. She nodded, seemingly satisfied. You always were a good boy. Both my children are so talented. My heart broke a little. She'd slipped further, now confusing Elijah with the brother I never had. Let me help you get her to the car, Elijah offered quietly. I wanted to refuse, to prove I could handle this on my own, as I had been for months. But the truth was, I was tired, bone-deep exhausted, and his offer was like a life raft in a stormy sea. Thank you, I whispered. We made our way to the parking lot, Lily skipping ahead and my mother leaning heavily on my arm. Elijah walked beside us, occasionally steadying my mother when she stumbled. Once she was settled in the passenger seat, Elijah leaned down to say goodbye. It was wonderful to see you, Margaret. You take care now. You'll come for Thanksgiving, won't you? she asked, patting his cheek. Autumn always makes too much food. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Thanksgiving had been the end of us. We'll see, Mom, I interjected gently. Mr. Carter is very busy. Mr. Carter, she frowned. Since when do you call him that? I closed her door before she could say more, turning to face Elijah. Thank you for your help. He nodded, his expression serious. Think about the bonfire. I'll be there with Lily until about 10. Then I'm taking her home. If you change your mind, he let the sentence hang. Goodbye, Elijah. I got into the driver's seat and started the engine, deliberately not looking back as I drove away. But in my rearview mirror, I could see him standing there, watching us use. His hand raised in a wave that felt like both a goodbye and an invitation. And despite every warning bell in my head, I found myself considering it. I shouldn't have come. The bonfire blazed in the center of the beach, casting long shadows and illuminating familiar faces in amber light. The smell of wood smoke and salt air, the sound of waves crashing against the shore, laughter and music. It was exactly as I remembered, and nothing like it at all. After settling my mother with Mrs. Jenkins, our neighbor who often helped with her care, I'd argued with myself for an hour. Stay home. Go to the bonfire. Avoid Elijah. Find Elijah. In the end, curiosity won. Or maybe it was something else, something I wasn't ready to name. I spotted him immediately, sitting on a driftwood log, Lily beside him, both of them roasting marshmallows. The firelight caught in his dark hair, highlighting the silver at his temples that hadn't been there 10 years ago. He looked up as if sensing my presence. Our eyes met across the flames. For a moment we were 21 again, young and in love and full of dreams, before life and choices and misunderstandings tore us apart. He said something to Lily, who nodded. Then he was making his way toward me, navigating around groups of people who called out greetings as he passed. You came. He seemed genuinely gunjnees, happy, even. I had Mrs. Jenkins stay with Mom. I don't know why I felt the need to explain. She was having a good evening, but I didn't want to leave her alone. He nodded. Would you like something to drink? They have that apple cider you used to love. I nod. The fact that he remembered such a small detail made my chest ache. Yes. Thank you. We walked toward the refreshment table, careful not to. Oh, so, I said, accepting the cup of steaming cider he offered. You mentioned wanting to talk. He glanced toward Lily, who was now playing with some other children near the water's edge. Not here. Would you mind walking? I nod. We moved away from the bonfire, down the beach where the noise faded and the darkness deepened. The only light came from the moon reflecting off the water and the distant glow of the fire. Autumn. I need to explain about Thanksgiving. His voice was serious, edged with something I couldn't identify. About what happened 10 years ago. I stiffened. There's no need to dredge up ancient history. There is if we're going to work together. He stopped walking, turning to face me. If we're going to be in each other's lives again. We're not in each other's lives, I clarified. We work together. Temporarily. Is that what you want? His question hung in the air between us. For it to be temporary. What I wanted was complicated. What I wanted was dangerous. What I wanted was the man standing before me, but without the pain that came with him. What I want doesn't matter. I said finally, what matters is that I do my job, rebuild my reputation, and take care of my mother. You always were stubborn, he muttered. Then, louder, I didn't leave you, Autumn. Not the way you think. I laughed bitterly. Really? Because I distinctly remember waking up alone on Thanksgiving morning. No note, no call, just gone. The memory still had the power to wound. And then your mother telling me you'd taken that internship in London. The one you turned down because we had plans to start our firm here. I did leave, he acknowledged, but not because I wanted to, because I had to. I crossed my arms. What does that even mean? He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture so familiar it made my heart ache. My father was sick, care, stage 4. He didn't want anyone to know. Made us all promise. I stared at him, uncomprehending. What are you talking about? Your father died in a car accident 3 years after you left. That's what everyone was told. He looked out at the water. Dad was a proud man, didn't want pity, didn't want to be remembered as someone who withered away. He turned back to me. The London firm had specialists, experimental treatments. Dad called in favors, got me the internship so I could be near the hospital. My mind raced, trying to process this new information. Why didn't you tell me? We were planning a life together, Elijah. He made me promise not to tell anyone. His voice cracked slightly. Not even you. Especially not you. Why especially me? Because he knew you'd drop everything to help. Your graduate program, your career plans. He stepped closer because he knew you'd insist on coming with me, and he didn't want that for you. That wasn't his choice to make, I whispered. Or yours. I know that now. He reached out, hesitating before letting his hand fall back to his side. I was 21 and terrified. My father was dying. He made me promise, and I kept it. It was the wrong choice, but I didn't know how to make the right one. 3 years, Elijah. The hurt bubbled up, hot and fresh. You were gone for 3 years without a word. Not a call, not a letter, nothing. I tried to call once. His admission was quiet. About 6 months in, your mom answered, told me you were finally moving on, that you were seeing someone new, that the best thing I could do for you was to stay away. I felt like I'd been slapped. That's not true. There was no one else, not for a long time. He looked as stunned as I felt, but she said, she lied. The realization hit me like a physical blow. She must have thought she was protecting me, saving me from more heartache. We stood in silence, the weight of lost years and misunderstandings between us. The sound of the waves filled the void where words failed. By the time I came back, after Dad died, you were gone, he said finally. Boston, a new life. I thought. He shook his head. I thought it was too late. Hughes, was it? The question escaped before I could stop it. Barely a whisper carried away by the ocean breeze. His eyes found mine in the moonlight. I don't know, Autumn. Is it? Before I could answer, a small voice called out, Uncle Eli. It's s'mores time. Lily was waving excitedly from the bonfire. The spell broke. Reality rushed back in. You should go, I said, stepping back. She's waiting for you. He nodded slowly. This conversation isn't over. It wasn't a question but a promise. Tomorrow, coffee, the old place on Main, the old place, where we'd spent countless hours studying together, planning our future, falling in love. You. He chants say. 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock. He smiled then, a real smile that reached his eyes. The first I'd seen since I'd returned. As I watched him jog back to his niece, I wondered what I'd just agreed to. Coffee wasn't just coffee, not with Elijah, not with our history. It was opening a door I'd kept firmly shut for a decade, and I had no idea what waited on the other side. The coffee shop hadn't changed. Same mismatched furniture, same chalkboard menu, same smell of espresso and cinnamon. I arrived early, claiming the corner table by the window. Our table, the one where Elijah had first sketched my portrait on a coffee-stained napkin, where I'd helped him cram for his architectural history final, where he'd first whispered that he loved me, so quietly I'd asked him to repeat it. He hadn't repeated it, he'd shown me instead. "Is this seat taken?" His voice pulled me from the memory. I looked up. He stood beside the table, 2 mugs in hand, black coffee, no sugar. Black coffee, 2 sugars. He remembered. "I ordered for us," he explained, setting the mugs down. "I hope that's okay." I nodded, wrapping my hands around the warm ceramic. "Thanks." He sat across from me, close but not too close, professional but not distant, the liminal space between strangers. "Whatever we had been, whatever we might be." "About last night," he began. "It's a lot to process," I interrupted. 10 years of believing one thing, and now, he leaned forward slightly. "And now I don't know what to think," I admitted. "If what you said is true." "It is." His voice was firm, certain. "Then we've lost 10 years to misunderstandings and secrets." I took a sip of coffee to steady myself. "That's not something we can just fix over coffee." "I know." He looked down at his hands, strong hands, artist hands that I'd once known as well as my own. "I'm not asking for that. I'm just asking for a chance." "A chance for what, exactly?" "To be in your life again." His eyes met mine. "In whatever way you'll allow." The sincerity in his voice made my chest ache. "Elijah." My phone rang, interrupting whatever I was about to say. Mrs. Jenkins' name flashed on the screen. I answered immediately, heart racing. "Hello? Is everything okay?" "Autumn, dear." Mrs. Jenkins sounded worried. "Your mother's having one of her episodes. She's quite upset. Keeps asking for you and Elijah. Says she needs to tell you both something important." I was already standing, gathering my coat. "I'll be right there." "What's wrong?" Elijah stood too, concern etched across his features. "It's Mom. She's upset." I hesitated, then added, "She's asking for both of us." "Both of us?" He seemed surprised. "That's what Mrs. Jenkins said." I grabbed my purse. "I need to go. I'm coming with you." It wasn't a question. I should have argued, should have maintained boundaries. But the truth was, I was scared. Mom's episodes were becoming more frequent, more severe. And if she was asking for Elijah, okay. I nodded. My car's outside. The drive to my childhood home was tense, filled with unspoken words and shared worry. We found my mother in the living room, pacing anxiously. Mrs. Jenkins hovered nearby, clearly relieved to see us. "Oh, thank goodness," she murmured, gathering her things. "I'll leave you to it then." Mom's eyes lit up when she saw Elijah. "You're here, both of you, together." She clasped her hands together, "Just as you should be." "Mom," I said gently, approaching her, "why don't you sit down? You seem upset." "Upset? No." She waved a dismissive hand. "I'm perfectly fine, but I need to tell you something important." She looked between us, suddenly serious. Before I forget again, Elijah and I exchanged glances. He gave a small nod of encouragement. "What is it, Mom?" I guided her to the sofa, sitting beside her. Elijah took the armchair across from us. "The letter," she said firmly. "I need to tell you about the letter." "What letter?" I asked, confusion mingling with concern. "The one Elijah sent." She turned to him. "From London, 6 months after you left." My breath caught. I looked at Elijah, whose expression had gone from concern to shock. I never received a letter, I said slowly. Mom wrung her hands. No, you didn't. She took a deep breath. Because I hid it. You what? The words came out sharper than I intended. You were finally starting to smile again, she explained, eyes pleading for understanding. Finally sleeping through the night. I couldn't bear to see you go through that pain again. What was in the letter? Elijah's voice was strained. Everything, Mom replied simply. Why you left. Your father's illness. How much you missed her. She turned to me. He asked you to come to London. To be with him. The room seemed to tilt beneath me. All these years. I lied to you too, Elijah, she continued. When you called, Autumn wasn't seeing anyone else. There was no one else for her. Not for a long time, Mom, I whispered, tears filling my eyes. How could you? She reached for my hand. I thought I was protecting you, both of you. Her eyes filled with tears. Your father had just died, remember? Heart attack. So sudden. She shook her head. I couldn't bear the thought of you dropping everything to run to London, only to have your heart broken again if things didn't work out. I wasn't your decision to make, I said, echoing my words to Elijah from the night before. I know that now. Mom's voice was small, regretful, and I need you both to know the truth. While I still remember it, while I'm still me. Silence fell over the room, heavy with revelation and regret. The letter, Elijah said finally. Do you still have it? Mom nodded. In my memory box, upstairs, in the closet. I'll get it, I said, needing a moment alone, a chance to breathe, to process. The stairs seemed endless, each step carrying me toward a past I thought I'd left behind, a future that might have been. The memory box was exactly where she said, a cedar chest filled with photographs, trinkets, and apparently, secret. The letter was in a blue envelope, my name written in Elijah's familiar handwriting. The paper had yellowed with age, but the seal remained unbroken. I ran my fingers over my name. 10 years. A decade of what-ifs sealed inside. And when I returned downstairs, Mom had fallen asleep on the sofa. One of her medications often made her drowsy. Elijah stood by the window, looking out at the garden where we'd once planned to plant a tree together, a symbol of our future, a future that never came to be. She's asleep, I said softly. He turned, his eyes immediately fixed on the envelope in my hands. You found it, I nodded, holding it out to him. You should have it back. He shook his head. It was written for you. It's yours. My fingers trembled as I held the envelope. I'm not sure I can read it. Why not? Because what if it changes everything? I whispered. What if it doesn't? He moved closer, close enough that I could smell his cologne, the same one he'd worn in college, another memory that refused to fade. Maybe some things are meant to change, Autumn. His voice was gentle. Maybe some things never really changed at all. Our eyes met. In that moment, the years fell away. We were 21, full of dreams and love and possibilities. I should stay with Mom, I said, stepping back, breaking the spell. Of course, he nodded, understanding. I'll go. But Autumn, he paused at the door. When you're ready to talk, about the letter, about us, about anything, I'm here. After he left, I sat beside my sleeping mother, the letter heavy in my hands, a bridge between past and present, between hurt and healing. With trembling fingers, I broke the seal. He kissed me once more before stepping into the night. I see you tomorrow, Autumn Rose. My full name on his lips, just like before. But this time, It felt like a promise of what was to come, not a reminder of what I'd lost. As I closed the door behind him, I realized something. November had always been our month, for beginnings and endings, for love and loss. And now, maybe, for second chances too. 1 year later, careful with that box, I called out, watching the movers navigate the narrow hallway of our new home. It has my mother's china in it. Got it, Mrs. Carter. The young man nodded, adjusting his grip. Mrs. Carter. The name still felt new, still made my heart skip a beat. Where do you want these blueprints, babe? Elijah appeared in the doorway, arms full of rolled papers. His wedding band caught the light, a simple gold circle that matched mine. In the home office, please. I smiled at him, overwhelmed for a moment by how much had changed in a year. The riverfront project had been a success. My position at Carter Designs had become permanent. Then, last November, under the same stars that had witnessed our first love, Elijah had proposed. We'd married in the spring, a small ceremony in my mother's garden on one of her good days. Mom lived with us now. Her condition had progressed, but she had more good days than bad, especially when Elijah was around. She remembered him always, even when she sometimes forgot me. Penny for your thought. Elijah returned, wrapping his arms around me from behind. He rested his chin on my shoulder, a gesture that had become as natural as breathing. Just thinking about how much has changed, how far we've come. I leaned back against him, drawing strength from his solid presence, having second thoughts about the house. There was a hint of worry in his voice. I turned in his arms. Not a chance. It's perfect. And it was, a Victorian fixer-upper on the edge of town. Room for my mother. Room for us. Room for the future we were building together. Besides, I added with a smile, we designed it together. How could it not be perfect? He kissed me then, slow and sweet. A kiss full of promises kept and promises still to come. Eli, Autumn. Lily's voice broke the moment. She bounded into the room, 9 years old now and as energetic as ever. Can I paint my room purple? Please? Uncle James said to ask you guys since I'll be staying here on weekends. Elijah laughed. Sure thing, Squirt. As long as your dad approves. She squealed with delight and raced off to tell her father, who was helping with the move. She's got you wrapped around her finger, I teased. Just practicing, he replied, his hand coming to rest on my still flat stomach for when this little one arrives. Our miracle, due in May. A new beginning neither of us had dared to hope for a year ago. Do you ever think about it? I asked, covering his hand with mine. The time we lost? He considered the question seriously. Sometimes, he admitted. But then I look at where we are now, at everything we've built. His eyes held mine, full of love and certainty. And I think maybe we needed that time apart, to grow, to learn, to become the people who could make this work. To appreciate what we have, I added softly. Exactly. He brushed a strand of hair from my face. Besides, we have the rest of our lives to make up for lost time. The rest of our lives. Once, those words would have terrified me. Now they filled me with joy, with hope, with love so deep it sometimes took my breath away. Promise? I asked, needing to hear it just once more. Promise, no hesitation, just certainty. Forever this time autumn rose, no more Novembers apart. Outside, the leaves were turning gold and crimson. November was approaching again, but this year, and every year after, it would be a time of celebration, of remembrance, of love reclaimed and renewed. November memories, no longer painful, but precious. A reminder that sometimes the greatest love stories aren't the ones that unfold perfectly, but the ones that endure, that survive time and distance and misunderstandings, the ones that offer second chances and the wisdom to take them. The end. If you enjoyed Autumn and Elijah's journey back to love, please hit that like button, share their story with someone who believes in second chances. Comment your favorite moment below, and for more heartfelt tales that remind us it's never too late for love. Your support helps us bring more stories like this to life. Until next time, keep believing in November memories.